Okay, people. So today I am joined by Maya Annik Bedward. Is that
Yeah,
awesome?
that's right.
To talk about her new documentary, Black Zombie. So, Maya, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate that.
Happy
This
to
is
be
a
here.
really interesting piece. Like, how did it all come together?
Yeah, well, as a filmmaker and an artist, I've always been really interested in, stories from the African diaspora, kind of learning about the history of Afro-Caribbean and African American people, our history before colonialism, because I find
Mm.
Mm. So much has been shaped by that narrative. And so, I didn't know when I found out the zombie was connected to Haitian voodoo and actually had its roots there. It just blew my mind. And I started to do research around that. And yeah, and then eventually this film emerged. So, I actually never really was into zombie films. Like my point of interest came from a different angle, and I actually hadn't seen very many zombie films until I started researching this film. And then, of course, I had to watch tons of zombie films to do my research, watch them all. So, but yeah, the more I learned about the origin story of the zombie and how it transformed from like this, empathetic victim that we can really understand to the flesh-eating monster we know today, I was like, I just thought that journey was so important, and it's so important for people to know.
Oh, for sure. No, it really is. But it's getting something like this made is very interesting, right? Getting the financing for something like this because we've lived with like the narrative that we have seen for so long. You kind of wonder, would anyone really want the curtain pulled back on that, right? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
is that getting people interested in actually telling the real story? Because no one wants to tell the real. It's like the one of the talking about how the Haitian Revolution isn't talked about in French schools. It's like slavery isn't really talked about in English schools. There's so much. I remember one time, because I always read ahead, because you get fascinated with a subject. So you're like reading. And so I read ahead I forget what we were doing about, but I got into slavery. And so in the next lesson, I answer a question and I then bring in like slavery. And they're just like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm answering the question. It's like, you're going off topic. We don't need to know. And it gets squashed down. You know what I mean? So we've lived with that for so long. So yeah, being able to break through all of that and actually show people reality. What was that journey like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I started making this film 10 years ago. And a big part of that was, convincing people to give me funds to make the film.
Mm,
At that point, I had only made short documentaries, and a lot of people, for the same reasons that the story isn't told, looked at me and were skeptical of whether I could pull off, a film of this scope. And luckily I had a lot of people who came on board who believed in me and pushed the project forward and helped me push the project forward. But yeah, it was a long journey, and a big part of that was like locking in the financial support to make the film, and the way we needed to make it, because the story is like travels across continents, and so there was a lot of travel that needed to happen, a lot of archives we needed to go through. Yeah, it was a huge undertaking, and It wasn't easy.
I can imagine. I can imagine. And being your like feature directorial debut, what made you think, right? Firstly, this is the one, right? This is the one I'm gonna break through with. I'm gonna make my feature debut on, but also why this one? Right? You know what I mean? Why
Yeah.
this story? And like and what about having the ability to tell that story?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, honestly, when I started in the film industry, I was actually making and working more in narrative filmmaking and dramatic filmmaking. And it's when I came across this story that I decided I needed to make this documentary. So it was my access point into doc, and I made a few shorts while I was developing this project. But I've just been like very invested in this story in the beginning. And I think the reason I was compelled to make this film is because I think filmmaking is just such a powerful tool to kind of shape our worldview. And that can happen in a positive way, but it can also happen in a negative way. And it's very like subconscious how it does it. And then we kind of recycle images over and over, and things we've just like that have occurred in early films. We don't even know where that comes from, but it just becomes part of the language of filmmaking, and it just seeps into our understanding, our worldview. And I think that's why I wanted to make this film, is because I think it's such an important example of how something that's become so commonplace, like the flesh-eating zombie, very few people know its origin story. And except, of course, if you're Haitian, like everyone knows it's not a hidden secret in Haiti. And it just shows like how powerful cinema can be to shape our understanding of the world. And I think, for me, I'm very invested in, politics, and I think the cultural is political. And so this was just such an important story to tell that through.
I mean, the cultural is always political, I kind of feel, right? It's always used as a way to subjugate, right? To hold people back. And what is so kind of crazy to me is the way that the Haitian religion is demonized and talked about when we consider the just horrendous history of Christianity.
Yes, yes.
But it's never demonized, right? It's never like, as a kid, you looked at the Crusades, like Richard the Lionheart and all of this, and you're like, oh man, that's so cool. What it actually was, and you're like, oh, yeah, no, that's not great, right? That's not a good thing. You look at how Christianity, in places like New Zealand, and the Aboriginal children in Africa with children, and they would force them to learn the Bible and take the Bible on, like when Spain went to South America, they would like chop people's hands off, make them get gold, and you know what I mean, because they were seen as savages because they did not believe in Christianity, right? So you have places in the world that wouldn't be Christian, but were forced to be Christian. That is never looked on as being like this. We should never look at that religion anymore because it's such a horrible past. So let's move to something different. It's just like, no, that's great. That, you know what I mean? Like, nah, none of that, right? It's that crazy thing.
Yeah, that voodoo has become synonymous with this dark, evil, evil sorcery activity, when it is in fact a religion that comes from West Africa and has in Haiti, it's a combination of many West African and indigenous traditions that have come together and made Haitian Vodou, and Santeria is its other version of that, and Candomblé in Brazil. Like, all of these spiritual systems are connected because they share the same origin, and they're really about human connection to nature and the spirit world, and what it means to die and be reconnected to an ancestral realm. And there's a lot of incredible beauty and poetry around it, but it's just been it's been seen as this like savagery, this dark magic, and been completely misconstrued, and just certain elements have been cherry picked and totally exaggerated and misrepresented to kind of make it seem like this dark religion that's practiced under the cloak of night, which, quite frankly, the reason often things probably happened at night back during slavery times was because you would get persecuted if you practiced it during the day. Like, that's the reason often a lot of these kind of visions of what Vodou is because it had to be hidden. So yeah, I think that it's really insane how we just, like, everyone knows the word voodoo, like, it's just like prolific in the English language, and people don't know why, and actually how that's connected to the story of the zombie, and how the zombie was taken from Haiti and written in American literature and then in Hollywood films, and that's why we understand voodoo the way we do today. So it's just it's crazy we don't know that story, and I thought it was really important to know.
Yeah, when you first thought about doing this project, what did you think could be, other than budgetary, right? What did you think could be the hardest part to bring to fruition?
Yeah, well, I've been working, like I said, on this film for 10 years. And when I started, I thought it would be hard to, get buy-in from like a lot of the people, the important figures in the story who are well known and part of the more mainstream zombie narrative. So trying to get their interviews and getting them, I thought that would be the hardest part. But actually, people were quite generous with their time. And the hardest part was, unfortunately, in the making of this film, like, things have been very difficult in Haiti for quite some time. And, that's the legacy of the exploitation and oppression of, of Haiti by the Western world. Manifesting in a very, very difficult circumstance. But things just got extremely bad when the president was assassinated. And things have been very difficult for people in Haiti, and it became too dangerous to return. We were shooting there during our research and development phase, and I had all these things in place to go shoot these beautiful cultural festivals around voodoo, and follow our characters in their neighborhoods and their communities. And that for me was going to be the like heart of the film. But things were just so dangerous that even the idea of like us bringing out a camera in the middle of the street in where we were planning to shoot would just have put everyone in jeopardy because of the violence of the gangs. And it would just, I didn't want to put anyone, any of our contributors, any of our team at risk. So we had to kind of pivot, and I wasn't able to shoot in Haiti the way I wanted to. So that was actually, in the end, what became the hardest thing. But that wasn't what I thought would be, and it's definitely one of the unexpected challenges that happened.
Yeah, when you hear that news, right? When you find out and you come to the realization that, oh, we can't get back, right? So we're gonna miss all of this footage. How long does it take you to kind of work out an alternative to that?
Yeah, I actually decided, the pandemic had just happened too, so we began principal photography March 2020, so a week before the entire world shut down. We were in LA, and when that happened, like basically we got one interview in, but we had so many shoots planned and we had to cancel everything. So I decided to put a pause on the project until we could travel again. And then when the assassination happened, I thought, okay, this is something that's like, let's wait and see, because for me, going back to Haiti, going back to Jacmel, where we were shooting Grégory, like that was such an important part of the film. And I thought maybe we'll see what happens, but things just have been getting increasingly worse. Now everyone we've worked with except Grégory have left the country. And, these are people who adore their country and did not want to leave, like, at all. And so it's been very tough. So after, I can't remember exactly how long, but it became clear that the situation in Haiti was just going to get progressively worse, we decided to bring the contributors from Haiti to the Dominican Republic and shoot our Haitian contributors in the Dominican Republic. We actually brought our Haitian crew that we were working with in Haiti to the Dominican Republic. And we worked with an incredible team in the Dominican Republic who are very sensitive, very inspired by the story. They're Afro-Dominican themselves, so a lot of the work they do is about this restoration and reconciliation. And so they made sure that the conditions were safe for our crew and our contributors to come, and we shot the remainder of that in the Dominican Republic. And there are a lot of Haitians there too. So actually, the one Peristyle, the one temple that we show in the film where Grégory is entering with the mambo and we're seeing all the different syncretistic elements, that's actually in the Dominican Republic. That's her home in the Dominican Republic. So we found alternative ways. Like, I'm still very sad that we weren't able to go back and shoot the festivals and like the grandeur that I had wanted to showcase them in, but we had our research footage that kind of like did the heavy lifting in that.
Okay. I mean, that's nice that you were able to shoot in the Dominican, but logistics and being able to sort all of that out, that's a huge feat. So congratulations on being able to...
we had a wonderful team. Like, my producer worked with an incredible team down in the Dominican Republic, Casa Latina, who really made sure that we had the resources, like helped us so much, but also really made sure that our Haitian crew and our Haitian contributors were safe, and that the crossing at the border was safe, and that they weren't going to be harassed and all, because of course, as you probably know, like the relationship that the Dominican Republic government has with Haitians is like atrocious, and the way they treat Haitians is like horrific. So yeah.
Whew. It sounds like this definitely was not an easy project to kind of bring to life, but you were still able to tell such a fascinating story. I think the way you put it together, like the chapters, just all of this, just giving you this information that when you hear it, like, not sometimes you don't necessarily think about things or the reason for things, and then you might have an idea but you're not quite sure, and then you hear the thing said and you're like, that makes so much sense. Of course it would be that, right? And I think that's the great thing here. And you break it down, you give the examples of all of this thing, which lets people understand how this thing could have taken place, right? The way it gets shifted and moved and manipulated and just all of these things, which, you know, I mean, I'd never heard of, right? So I didn't know about Wade Davis and George Sewell, just any of that. So that was really, really interesting. So I just want to be like, you did a fantastic job with this, you know, with your first feature documentary. So, hey, congratulations with all of that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it wasn't easy. There's so much, and I think that was the hard part is the scope of the story is so big, and you know what to focus on and what to tell was such a challenge in the edit room. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and you know, I think it's important for people to know the history, but also, you know, it's like I was very conscious that, you know, what a great story because it's about zombies and people, you know, love zombies. Like The Walking Dead was huge for so long and zombie films are not going anywhere. And I thought, what a great vehicle in which to get people to watch a film and then in turn learn about the incredible history of Haiti and the Haitian Revolution and all this important stuff that's been completely forgotten and should be celebrated and honored, and hopefully becomes, you know, commonplace for people to know. You know, that's my goal with the film, is that people just know where the zombie comes from, understand that Vodou is not black magic, it's actually an incredible religion, and that, you know, the Haitian Revolution is something that should be remembered and was like incredible and one of the revolutions that should stand out in our history.
Oh, I mean, God, I've got so many things to say right now. I mean, you picked a great time to kind of drop this because, you know, we just had Nina DeCasto's Bone Temple, right? The 28 years later sequel. So just coming off the back of that and the you know, the 28 years later, the rebirth of, you know, that franchise. So we have all of that. But I think at a time, so, you know, and we got more zombie things, as you say, coming, right? So it's bringing the zombies, but then it's talking about the religion as well, right? And just all of these things, because it is fascinating that the Haitian Revolution is not talked about more, right? It was a few years ago, like maybe 10 years ago, that I kind of really found out a whole heap on that. And then the fact that Haiti was having to pay reparations to France, which was, as I think it was just a few years back that got cancelled, I believe. But I didn't hear anything about France, you know, properly apologizing and going, pay back the money that
paying it back.
You know what I mean? Like that's always the big thing, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, we're gonna give you your independence after we've strip mined the country of all valuable minerals, after we've taken millions and millions and millions of pounds and dollars from you. You know what I mean? We've fucked up your infrastructure. We've taken away your religions and your celebrations and your culture, but you can have it all back now, right?
Yeah.
And we're not going to do anything to help you, right? And if you do want our help, you have to pay us for that shit.
Yeah.
It's just bonkers.
It's incredible, you know, like how in the news, all we hear about Haiti is like how there's chaos, how there's corruption, how there's violence. Like these are the narratives that are told about Haiti, when, you know, like, and very few people know that this country basically propped up the wealth of Europe for centuries. And then, you know, they fought hard for their independence and then was totally shunned and gutted financially, and was given no chance to prosper. And people are just don't know this history, and it's like the reason Haiti is where it is because of a very deliberate kind of plan for destruction of that country, because it fought and got the first it was the first Black slave revolution. This had never happened before, and no one wanted this to be known. And people were very afraid that this would would influence and happen in other colonies in the Americas. So it's nuts. It's just like, anyway, so as all of this is why I had to make this film, and why for 10 years I was just like determined to make it. And I think it's really important for all of us to know. I think it's a really important story about Black liberation that we should be talking about. And I'm very grateful and inspired by Haitian people and Haitian Vodou practitioners for all the work they do to keep resisting, as Errol says in the film. They're still resisting.
Oh man, like, it's funny because there's certain things that we talk about in like Black culture, you know what I mean? Rosa Parks, Malcolm, Martin, these figureheads that helped bring forth, us out of this time of subjugation. It would be shoulder with all of these things, because that's such an important thing that happened, right? It wasn't quick, right? This is the thing. It wasn't quick. So that just the perseverance, the strength to hold on to what you believe in, that is a huge lighthouse for people to, bear witness to. So I was really happy that you mentioned it in the doc, and you covered it so well. Like, when you were thinking, because you said there was so much, right? So much to kind of look at and think about with this. So when you were thinking about doing this, did you have like these key things? You'd be like, okay, whatever happens, I have to show this, 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 and this. Like, what was, when you're in the editing room, especially, and you're thinking about, oh, we got to cut it down. Like, what was for you those things that you were like, we need to show these things?
Yeah, that's such a great question. For sure, number one, it was really important for me to show Vodou very differently than the way people imagine it to be in their head, and be very respectful and honor this tradition, and work with the practitioners to show it in this in the incredible way that it's practiced. But also, this is a story about appropriation. This is a story about exploitation. So there are like key people who are part of this narrative, and definitely William Seabrook. He's the man who came to Haiti and wrote this book, The Magic Island, that was the inspiration for early zombie films. And he showing his story, this very famous man in his era that no one knows now, but who made this book that coined, that brought the term zombie to the Western world. His story, of course, Night of the Living Dead was definitely an important part, because that's what created the flesh-eating zombie we know today. And understanding how the zombie, which was a symbol for slavery, transformed into this kind of mindless flesh-eating monster, how that story happened. And then I thought the Wade Davis narrative was really important too, because some people who might know, oh, I think zombies come from Haiti, there's something to do with powder, but they don't really know the story. It's his book, which was later turned into a film by Wes Craven, that's kind of like seeded those like vague ideas that a lot of people might have about the connection of voodoo and zombies in Haiti, but they don't really understand it. And again, that's like such a great example of film, like kind of like what people remember is, isn't there white powder that people blow in your face? Like that's that's the kind of imagery people think about, and they don't really know why. And it's like, okay, this comes from this film, this comes from this book, and this is the story behind it. So those were 3 important parts I wanted to tell, while also showing what, you know, voodoo is and what it means for people in Haiti and the diaspora. And it was a lot. It was a lot to put into a film for sure. There's so much else I wanted to put in. So the edit wasn't easy, but yeah, I hope it does. I hope it does the story justice.
I think, no, I definitely think it does, right? I definitely think it gives this clear understanding, right? And I think with anything, right, you're never going to be able to show it all. So you want to show enough to make people interested, to dig deeper, right? And I think you've definitely done that. You've kind of, you know, you gave enough knowledge for people to have an understanding of, but to then have a hunger to be like, I wonder what else there is. You know what I mean? Let me take a further look into this stuff, because it is so fascinating, right? It's fascinating how George and Wade could become the voices on something, right? It's like 2 white people go to Haiti, and we're meant to believe that everything they say is gospel, right? Everything they say is just the straight up truth. There can't be any lies here, right? So that is that's great. And I thought it was interesting when Wade was just like, oh, people judge me because of the film, but I didn't want to talk out about the film because it bought me a house. And I'm like, I mean, it bought you a house, but you can still talk out on it if you feel it really did such disservice to, you know what I mean, what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
If you're supposedly holding these things to such high esteem, wouldn't you want the truth to be highlighted?
Totally. And it's like he of all people understood the repercussions of a lot of these like misrepresentations of voodoo throughout throughout previous films, throughout early cinema, throughout through the US occupation, all the writings that happened around then. So he knew like the stakes. He was very aware. And I mean, that's why I think he was trying to, why he wrote the book in a way, the way he wrote it. But then, you know, it's like, it just, the whole thing didn't come to, like, it just did the opposite when he sold the rights and, you know, let them take with it what they did, Hollywood. And yeah, so I don't know. I think, and I was very like, you know, knowing this long lineage of appropriation. And although I'm Afro-Caribbean myself, like I'm not Haitian and I'm not a voodoo practitioner. You know, I have a lot of respect for the religion and for a lot of African-derived spirituality throughout the Americas. And I've been interested in researching it and learning about it for a good part of my life. But I was very conscious as someone who's not a voodoo practitioner, Haitian voodoo practitioner, how do I tell this story in a way that is respectful, that's not exploiting, that's not appropriating. And, you know, it's something I grappled with a lot. And tried my best, worked closely with voodoo practitioners, had an advisory committee and all that to make sure that I didn't perpetuate the thing that's been done over and over and over again with voodoo. And it's also why I think I tried to stay away too much from explaining the religion and, you know, centering the voices of the Haitian voodoo practitioners to do that. But, you know, if people want to learn more about voodoo, they can go on that journey themselves. I didn't, I want to focus more on the story of appropriation and these like
Mm.
white men who've made so much off of the story of the zombie, rather than, be the person to be like, let me tell you what voodoo is. I don't think that was my place.
Yeah, no, I think the way you covered it, you gave enough, right? I think that's enough information. We don't have to break it down to its, essence, to the nuts and bolts of, what the religion is and all of this. It's just like talking about it the way you did. People understand everything that happened, right? The tie-ins with the, zombie and all of this kind of stuff, right? Yeah. No, yeah. You're not flying people to the Dominican Republic. You know what I mean? Like, I think in just everything you've done, you've shown the care and appreciation of the subject.
I hope
So,
so.
yeah, I think what is really interesting when you think about zombies, right? And so it was, using this, slaves, basically, these people to become slaves. Like, the idea of zombie in the Western world has become like the drone, like the office drone, right? Like someone who just comes and goes through the motions and just, that glazed look. And it's like, oh, this, you know what I mean? Like, what I mean? When you kind of think about it.
Yeah, no, and also I think, yeah, we use, I feel like a zombie today because I'm not present. I'm just following the motions. Or I think another piece that often hits people when they think about zombies is that like apocalyptic narrative that comes out in a lot of these films. Like a lot of films take place in this like near end of world. Everyone's been turned into a zombie and you have to survive. And there's been some kind of like zombie contagion. And I think people are very obsessed with these like post-apocalyptic narratives. And that's where a lot of the zombie films live. But I think it's really interesting. Like some people would often be like, well, these zombie films really have nothing to do with the original zombie, which is a metaphor for slavery. And I think that actually, if you think about it, like if you were West African and it was the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade, and all of a sudden these people descend, trap you, brutalize you, take you away, and bring you to another land in which you have no agency whatsoever if you survive that passage, and then strip you of your culture, strip you of everything. Like, to me, that's the end of worlds as well. Like that was an apocalypse.
Oh, for
And
sure.
we still feel its effects today. So I'm like, I think if you put that lens on the original zombie, there is actually you can find its connections. It's just people
But
don't want to think about that apocalypse.
oh yes, because they weren't subjugated. So you don't really care, right? You don't care that the backbone of so many things were built off the shoulders of other people, right? Like that doesn't even come into it, right? So much was done through slavery,
Yeah. And people don't think about the humanity of those who were enslaved, It's like, oh, the slaves were brought. It's like their humanity was completely stripped of them, and they were treated like it's insane. And it's just like the way we still tell history, kind of like, yeah, so slaves were brought, it was a bad thing. It's like, no, this was like the end of the world for
Yeah.
these full like communities. Like this wasn't anyway. So I feel very strongly that there is actually like that these connections that you can find, and I don't know, we're just obsessed about like a bunch of people in like, I don't know, Atlanta, like losing their is it Atlanta where Walking Dead takes place? I don't remember right now. But anyway, point is like it has to be through like what we like the Western world's understanding of what the end of this world would look like. And anyway, but I think a lot of interesting things can be done with the zombie narrative moving forward. Some people ask me that, and like I think about certain films that really take the zombie in a new direction, like Atlantics. I think that was an incredible zombie film, and I think there's like, you know, in some ways even Get Out is a zombie film if you really think about it. Like he's this person, these people being stripped of their agency, and it really is connected to the original zombie metaphor. So I don't know, there's like a way to kind of really take the original zombie and do with it some powerful storytelling that I think could be quite impactful.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I think it's like the flesh eating part. There's people like gore and they like all of this kind of stuff, but there's something more menacing about that, you know, silent kind of suppression. Because you just feel right, that's more realistic, right? That's more, you know, and I think when you've had agency taken from you, you understand that how menacing that thought is, right? So I think it hits home more. But if you haven't, it's not really, it doesn't seem like a threat. So the threat comes from the, you know, the eating, the brain, like seeking brains and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a fascinating, I think it's a fascinating thing, you know, and the more you learn about stuff, right, the more we peel back, you know, the narratives on these things and let people understand the roots, right, where things are born and spawned and all of that. I think it can only lead to great things. You know what I mean? It can only lead to more enlightenment around this stuff.
I hope so. Sorry about that.
No. I mean, the current zombie never really, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me because I kind of feel they'd rot away to nothing. You know what I mean? Like, you're not getting any sustenance, so you can't be around for ages and ages because you would just rot and fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, all the debates about, you know, what makes an accurate zombie and how they should be depicted. And, you know, Tom Savini, when I interviewed him, he had a lot of thoughts on the way zombies are being depicted in films today and felt it was quite inaccurate. And yeah, it's you know, there's a suspension of belief, but I think it's the underlying message. It's like the underlying intention you have with your film. If it's a zombie film, like why are you making this film, and what is its purpose? And I think it's really important for filmmakers to know the origin story of the zombie, and understand where it comes from and understand its place, and the impact this evolution has had on Haiti and on Vodou, and knowing that as they're making their zombie story, being very intentional, because, you know, sometimes you'll see like zombie films. I even saw in Walking Dead, like there's a moment where Vodou came into the picture. And again, it was like the way it was depicted was very stereotypical. And it was like this very character comes from this tradition, and, you know, there was no effort put in to understand Vodou in the practice. And I hope that moving forward, people see this film and really think about, okay, why am I making a zombie film and how am I making it and what's my intention?
Yes. Yeah. I think it's one of those things, right, where if you denigrate other religions and things, people get up in arms. But voodoo, Haiti, like they're things that we can just throw those around.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Totally.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's make this up. Oh, we could say that they do this as well.
Yes.
Right? You know what I mean? You're allowed to say it. There's no pushback.
Yes.
Which is bonkers.
Yes. And a lot of people will, be like, well, I saw this in a movie here and in this movie, because voodoo's been kind of reinterpreted and misrepresented over and over and over again. It's like compounded on itself. So people have no clue what it really is. And I think it's really important that we end that because it's an incredibly important and beautiful religion. And it was, it's like a huge part of the Haitian Vodou revolution story. Like, it's what kicked off the revolution. It's part of that story. And it's like, when you know that, it just, when you understand voodoo is central to Black liberation movements, it just, that changes everything. So,
well, yeah, because something that can spark off something of that magnitude, right? That can multitude to press for something when there's so much against you. There's definitely power in that, right? You must feel that there is something so strong, comforting, enriching in that, because there's so many things that you can listen to and rise up against people oppressing you. You know what I mean? So the fact that this religion gave these people that, oof, that's some, like, you know what I mean? You'd have Coca-Cola trying to bottle that, right? That'd be an energy drink right there. Oh man. Yeah. No, I really did. I just found it so powerful. Such a powerful piece that gave out so much information, and it gave it in a way that it wasn't talking down to you. It wasn't acting like, you're dumb if you don't know. It was just really just laying things out in a really great way. Man, I'm so glad you made this.
Yeah, me too. I really hope that it gets widely seen and it becomes commonplace that people understand the origins of the zombie and the importance of Haiti and the Haitian Revolution in our history. And I'm really happy that it's come together and it's finally getting its premiere this week.
Yeah. How did all that come about?
The premiere?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like any filmmaker, once you finish your film, you start submitting it to festivals and you hope that it gets into something so that it can have a platform to be seen.
But to be this is a huge festival, you know what I mean? Like, not everyone gets a debut.
No, I'm very lucky. Yeah, I met Jim, the programmer at South by at TIFF, I think a few years back, and I pitched him the film, and he was really excited and interested in it. But it took me forever to finish the film because of all the things we talked about. So it was years later that I was finally able to send him a version of the film that I felt good about. But yeah, so it's awesome. And Yves-Grégory, who is one of the Vodou priests that's featured in the film, he'll be coming to South by with us. So that's really exciting. I'm excited to be there with him. And yeah.
Nice. And do we have any other dates after South by?
We do. Actually, the European premiere will be following the South by premiere next weekend at the Thessaloniki International Documentary Film Festival, which is an amazing political documentary festival. So I'm really excited about that. And then we have a bunch of other stuff in the horizon. It's going to Thin Line in Texas shortly afterwards as well. And there's a bunch of international festivals that I can't talk about just yet, but hopefully it will be widely seen.
Outstanding. Okay, so it's going to be at all these places soon, some that you can't talk about. How can people keep track of everything so when it's, you know, close to them in their hometown, you know, they can get up and go watch it?
Yes, so we just started an Instagram page called Black Zombie Movie. So if you follow us on Instagram at Black Zombie Movie, that's where we'll be posting all the updates about the film.
Tremendous. And yourself, how can people keep track of, because it's clear you're a voice to pay note to. So hey, people want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm on right now.
I'm on Instagram at Maya Annik. You can find me there. And you can find my production company, Third Culture Media, on Instagram as well.
Outstanding. Awesome, Maya. Thank you. I really appreciate this time with you.
Thank you, Kevin.
If when things open up again in Haiti, do you think you might go back and story a part 2 as it were?
If I'm able to go back, which would be the dream, I'd love to show the film to Yves-Grégory and his community. And, you know, I think like for me, my goal with this film is actually to hopefully, and I would love to do an impact campaign that's really about supporting other Haitian filmmakers and like, you know, trying to get more funds to Haitian filmmakers to make their work. So that's the big thing I want to do with this film is bring attention to other Haitian filmmakers who we should be supporting, who will be telling their stories.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's really good. That's nice. That's cool. Hopefully that all comes to fruition. But I think with this as the powder keg, yeah, I think there's a chance of all of that coming through. So, you know, fingers crossed for you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for your time, because I think I have to let you go now. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you, Vimani, for putting this all together. And hopefully, like when you have another project to talk about, that you might be happy to come back and we can have another conversation.
For sure, Kevin.
Outstanding. Thank you, Maya. Well, people, all the links will be on the webpage for this episode. So, you know what I mean? If you can get to South by, definitely do that. But if not, any festival near you where it's showing, I'd even travel, right? This is worth getting in that car, getting on a plane, traveling to go see, because it is so important, so powerful, and just so well done. So people, if you can, go see Black Zombie, go check out Maya Annik Bedward's stuff, and support her in her journey in filmmaking in the future as well. So yeah, make sure you do all that. Maya, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a tremendous premiere.
Thank you.
All right, you take care.